Hello and welcome to episode 7 of Beyond the Finish Line. You're here with Georgia and Coach Matt. How you going, Matt?
I don't know how I feel about this title, Coach Matt. I'm
I
not
love
sure.
it. I love
Do
it.
ya?
I was thinking about this today actually. I was like, I hope he likes being called Coach Matt because I just keep calling him that.
It's taken over in the WhatsApp chat. Everyone now calls me Coach Matt.
Oh no, is that my fault?
I don't care. I just haven't decided how I feel about it. Just like,
I think in this context, it's nice that people are reminded that you are actually a coach.
yeah, I guess. Yeah, it's good branding.
It's good branding. It's, Coach Matt and Georgia.
And Georgia runs a marathon.
And Georgia runs a marathon. That's me. I know. I picked that name so long ago and here we are, stuck with it.
Yeah. I mean, it's paid dividends. So
It has. A bit of a, branding thing, especially when I jumped from my maiden name now to my married name. It doesn't really matter. So,
yeah, that's true.
yeah. In true me fashion, I'm actually going to remember this week. How was your week of training?
Had a pretty solid week of training. Just sort of not much changes in terms of between now and Ironman. I've said it before.
Yeah,
I'll
what
say
are
it
we
every
up
week.
to?
I'm in the washing machine.
You are. Are we 75 days out at this point?
69.
Oh my gosh, what have I been? Maybe I watched a video today that was an older video.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, so we're just inside of 10 weeks.
Nice. Very exciting. Any highs and lows? Tell me your high.
I got to think back. You know what? Everything nothing went wrong. That was my high.
That's a good high. When you're training and you're in deep, that's a good high.
Yeah. Sometimes, that's just all you need. You don't need anything to be particularly good. You just need it not to fuck up.
Okay. Any lows this week? Or are you feeling good?
You know what? I'm even keel this week. No highs, no lows.
keel.
Everything straight down the barrel.
Okay. I was going to
Yeah.
say, how's your head? Where's your head at this week? Good?
Yeah, good. Like weirdly, I was thinking about doing a post about this, and then I didn't really know how to word it. I was like, normally during Ironman prep, physically I hold up all right, but my mental health will be the roller coaster,
Yeah.
and then the mental health affects the training. This time everything's just smooth sailing,
Yeah.
mate. Right now, knock on wood, but right now, head's good, body's good, morale's good, socials are good, everything's good.
I love that. I do feel like you're in a really good place at the moment compared to this time last year. There was a couple of times last year that I noticed you had to take some time off, which is very fine. But you seem like you're in a good place. I love that.
Yeah, I think it's just you learn to weather the storms. You've gone through enough winters. That's the saying I like to use. You've seen enough winters. And not saying that doesn't mean I know everything and I've been through everything, but I've been through enough to have the tools to deal with what I'm currently going through.
Yeah. No, I can totally understand what you're talking about. Well, that's good. Glad to hear.
And how about you, Georgia? No big news this week, or?
No big news this week.
Okay, so moving on.
What's the date today? Today's the 24th, and last night this will actually come out next week, so you'll already know this, but last night I finally got to tell everyone that Nick and I got tickets to London Marathon.
How
which
exciting.
Is so exciting.
The power of manifestation.
The power of manifestation. There's a couple of things to this. So I think it's a lot about the fact that I just put it out into the atmosphere and the fact that I was talking it and telling people, and anyone I could talk to about it, they heard about it. So I think that really helped in getting us tickets, because then when the tickets came about, that person was thinking of us and knew that we were really desperate to get tickets. So that really helped. But yeah, we found out around Valentine's Day, and I surprised Nick with some little fake tickets and a card, which was pretty cute. And I posted it on socials this morning actually. And yeah, everyone's been really stoked for us, which is awesome. We're very excited.
That's my favorite video of Nick so far.
because he's so animated.
So yeah, it just breaks his usual persona.
I know, it's so funny. If you haven't seen it, guys, basically we're standing in our kitchen and I got Nick to come over and stand in front of the camera, and he's like, why are you filming? And I was like, oh, open the card. And all he did was swear for probably 10 minutes. One of the first things he said was, does Matt know? Have you told Matt yet?
So many people messaged me that, like, did you see what Nick said?
Yeah, I know. So, because honestly, that was one of the first things he said. He was just like, oh shit, does Matt know? Like, what do we do? And I was like, yes, Matt knows. Matt was actually the first person I told.
Cool.
I know, just after I got the phone call, he was, well, besides, I mean, I was at work and they were like, why are you crying?
Yeah, sure.
But yes, I'm going to do a video on this, but yeah, we actually got the tickets through a friend of ours. They got us tickets through their friends. So again, because I was putting it out into the atmosphere, they wouldn't have known that we wanted the tickets if I didn't say anything. So
yeah, sure.
I definitely think in the whole manifestation thing, it helps to tell people what you're kind of manifesting. So
yeah. And also coming from a sales and marketing background, like if you don't ask, you don't get, right? Like
100%.
If you're trying to get a sponsorship or you're trying to get someone to buy something or sell something, like if you don't ask for them to do it, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, even when I was doing all of the messaging of people I knew who may know someone or any kind of connection, I was like, look, I'm so sorry to do this, but if I don't ask, I don't get. And that's pretty much all I said the entire time. Down to, I think, a friend of mine's PT knew someone who worked for TCS, who's the major sponsor, that she was like, I'll ask for you because I know you're desperate, but that didn't come through. But we got our ticket in the end, so that's all that matters.
That's all that matters. That's all that matters.
I still just can't believe it. I'm like, we're at this point, we're about 9 weeks away, I think. I think we saw in our Training Peaks app that there was 9 weeks to go.
No, you're the week after. What date is it?
It's the 27th of April.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so you're 8 weeks.
8 weeks of training, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, poor Matt, I sent today my calendar of all of our flights and stuff, being like, I can run on this day, I can't run on this day. So, yeah.
Okay, so let's pull back the curtain a little bit.
I'm scared. Are you going to tell them what I told you yesterday by voice note? Is that what this is?
Yes, and I am going to provide the whole context of the story.
Oh no, guys, strap in.
When Georgia originally was like, I really want to race London, I just want to be prepared for it, I'm going to get a ticket. I was like, okay, cool. We're just going to get you in general physical preparedness. So if you do get the ticket, we're 4 to 6 weeks away from you being able to just run a marathon and enjoy it. No performance goal, no pushing hard, like basically a long zone 2 run.
Just a quick note on that though. Just a quick note. I'm just going to put it in there. We have also been training, do you think since November, where I said to you, let's just train for London just in case. So we had a full proper training block kind of. And then this conversation happened a couple of weeks ago, would you say?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah. So George says we've had a full training block. We've also had her birthday and a wedding in there. So it wasn't a full training block. But that's beside the point. We knew that was coming up. That was planned. But in my mind, I was like, cool, she's going to be in a perfect position to run like a 4.5, 5 hour marathon. She's going to be super cruisy. She won't be sore the next day. She'll be able to continue enjoying her honeymoon around Europe. That was how I was going in. I'd spoken to Nick about it. We were all in agreement. Everyone was super. They were going to run, if they got in, they were going to run the marathon together. This was the plan. Everyone was happy. Not 30 seconds after she gets approval to the marathon, does everything fly out the window, and she's like, I have to run sub 4 for this. I'm doing it. I don't care. And I was like, this is not going to end well. But okay, no worries. We'll do it. And then I laid a whole bunch of ground rules. I was like, at any point do I think it's not going to happen? we're pulling out. Like, you'll just run easy. If I think you're going to get injured, we're running. If I think you're going to get injured, we'll pull out. All these sort of things. I played down all of these rules, and she was like, "Yep, no worries."
He was like, "We'll not pull out of the marathon, but pull out
of the marathon, pull out of the performance
sub-4."
goal." Yeah, and agreed to it. Yep, happy. I was like, "You can't run to a pacer." All of these things. She agreed to everything. Wrote the whole not the whole program. I wrote about 3 weeks of the program out.
No, oh guys, now I feel bad.
And then she messages me the next day or 2 days later and goes, "I was talking to these guys at Run Club and I've decided not to do it. Like, I'm just going to run for fun." And I was like,
okay.
So exactly what I said a month ago.
Okay, so he's making me sound really bad here. So here's what actually happened. So yes, Matt did give me ground rules because I was like, the thought of running another marathon and not having this freaking sub-4 was really killing my soul. And it was deep down, I was like, I'm going to be so disappointed. Then when Matt gave me all the ground rules, I was like, yes, fair. This is all fair things. Things like Nick can't pace you and all this stuff. And I was like, okay. And then I was like, logistically, how's that going to work? Because Nick's not going to want to like run off on me, but he's also not going to want to pace me. So it's going to be a bit tricky. But I was like, whatever. And then yesterday I was at Run Club down in the harbour for Sydney Marathon, and I was talking to one of the guys, and I had said to him that I was going to do London Marathon, but obviously we only just got the tickets. So I was like, look, we don't have much training. And he was like, dude, from experience, I got a ticket last year really late in the piece. He said I was going to do a time goal, and he said, trust me, when you get there, that the crowd, you don't want to be dialed in, you just want to have fun. And I was like, nah, like I still really want to do it. And he's like, dude, trust me, I did it last year, don't do it. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, so everything I said in November.
So everything Matt said, that, you know, classic where you just don't listen, and then they tell you, and then you still don't listen, and then you're like, you were right.
Yeah. But that's very common in athletes. That's called autodidactic.
Oh, okay. Tell me what that is, because I don't know what that is.
You just have to... So I could say you're drinking a glass of water right now. I'd be like, if you drink that glass of water, you'll be hydrated. Mm-hmm. And you'll be like, I'm not sure that's true. I'm going to test it. And then you do it yourself and you're like, okay, that hydrates me. So you don't even register what I say. You have to teach yourself the lesson.
Okay. I am a little bit like that in life.
Very common in athletes. Like they'll be like, you'll be like, don't do this. Don't run this pace. You'll burn out. And they'll be like, no, I think I can do it. And then 4 kilometers in, they're like, oh, this was a mistake.
I think a good example of that is when your physio is like, don't run for a week, you'll get hurt, like it'll be worse, and then you do it and you get hurt and you're like, he was right.
Yeah, that's exactly That's
so
exactly
maybe that just makes me an athlete because I'm like all the rest of them.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe, we'll see. But yes, look, guys, I do normally listen to Matt a lot, as he's probably going to roll his eyes there.
No, you listen, like you're very adherent to training feedback and coaching and training plans. Like,
and physios. It is just, I'm very adherent to physios.
Yeah.
Yes.
Every once in a while, though, you just get a little spark and you're like, I'm going the exact opposite direction to everyone. And you just got to wind your back in.
Oh, no, that's me. Anyway, so that was my exciting news for the week. Let's move on.
Yeah, I don't think you can have a low after that. I think everything's a high.
I've got a low. It's a pretty gross one. Do you want to hear it?
Okay. Sure.
You've got no choice. You're going to hear it anyway. I actually got back from Run Club yesterday, and this is a classic running thing. If you know, you know. I was like, God, my feet hurt. It's a bit weird. And I took my shoes off, and my two toes next to my big toes were black. Like the toenails were black.
Really?
Yeah, so weird because I've sized up in my shoes, everything. I don't know what it was. The shoes I was wearing weren't new, but kind of newish. Don't know if it was those, but oh my gosh, the pain, horrendous. But nothing I'm not used to.
Never lost a toenail, never even come close.
I think it must just be, I don't know if it's just how your feet are positioned. Every training ball.
Yeah, maybe.
Because I know people that are like you who don't lose any. And then there's people like me, and maybe it's my form or like how I run, my stride, all that kind of thing. But I guarantee you I'll lose like 9.
I've never even had a foot blister.
Oh, God. I mean, All right, show off much?
I was just thinking about it. I'm just like, yeah, since I've been running, yeah, never.
I don't really get blisters, but yeah, the toenail thing's pretty gross.
Yeah, that's
Pretty,
minging.
it's pretty gross. Although I'm kind of like, guys, who wants to see it? And they're like, no, like piss off. But then runners, they want to see it. They're like, show
Yeah.
me your toes.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on. It's a bit gross, but hey, we're all human here. So
It's all part of it.
yes, exactly. So during the week, guys, we asked you on Instagram what you would like to ask, and I'm sorry, Coach Matt, and I left a question box there. So we actually got a ton of responses. So we're going to choose a few today and go through them all, and Matt will answer your questions. I've picked the questions for him to answer. He's had a really quick read over them so that he doesn't sit and look at me and have nothing to say.
It was more just in case someone had something super specific and
Yeah.
like I wanted, if I needed an exact bit of information, I wanted to have it. But the majority of them are pretty general and like I can make it fit most people.
Exactly. And look, you could ask Matt any question, he'd know how to answer it. So it was just a little bit of preparedness. But I think I'm going to kick it off with Lish asked, how do you prevent shin splints after previously suffering from them? Now, I get this question a lot, but I never know how to answer it because I don't suffer from shin splints. So I think this one's a great one for you to answer.
Yeah, so I don't suffer from shin splints either.
Yeah.
However, the main causes are poor running form. So if you hit really, really hard on the front of your foot, so if your foot's facing down and you hit it very hard, if you're not conditioned and you're consistently running on concrete or asphalt, that can do it. Biomechanics. So again, like if your feet don't land square, if they land off, either out or in, pronate, supinate. And then shoes, like if you're not wearing the right shoes and it isn't absorbing impact correctly, they're the main causes. How to stop it? It's tough. Number one, I would recommend trail running or running on grass, like alternating those surfaces as much as you can. So like dirt paths, anything to just absorb some of the impact. Biomechanically, a little bit, or form, we'll put them in the same bucket. A little bit more difficult, but getting down to something like what's that place that you go to that does the has the treadmill and everything?
The running room?
The running room.
I don't go there, but yes, I'd love to. Hey guys.
Going to a place like the running room or seeing like a run specific physio, something like that, somewhere where they can just review the way you work and get some drills to sort of straighten things up. Sometimes it's a hip. Your hips aren't quite aligned properly. Sometimes it's a knee. Sometimes it's an ankle. Just depends. And then the easiest one is shoes. Chances are, if it is a shoe related thing, it just doesn't have enough padding. So it's just not absorbing that impact, because like people don't know what a shin splint is. It's just inflammation all through the front of your shin. So, and it normally gets localized in like a small area, and that's like the splint, so to speak.
I don't know why I always thought shin splints was like microfractures. Where did I hear that?
I mean, they can definitely
Develop into
progress into that, but like a shin splint, like just a stock standard one, is just inflammation, like a really bad bruise basically, but it's really internal and rubbing on the bone. That's
okay, pretty much. Yeah,
but it can go from that all the way through to a stress fracture. So it is a large sort of spectrum. But yeah, and then shoes, just get something with a lot of padding, like hokers are like heaps, something like a hoker.
Yeah, right. Because has it got something to do as well with your training load? Like if you're doing too much too quickly, I find that a lot of beginner runners get shin splints because they're going out and they're running too long really quickly.
Yep, that can definitely contribute. I would say if you are one of those people who are running a lot, just alternating your surfaces will make a big difference. So like for me, for example, I'm sort of getting towards 60 Ks a week now. I do all of my speed sessions on grass. And if I have a long run that isn't speed orientated or pace orientated, I will go out on the trails. So
Okay, that's good to know, because like even for me, I do all of mine on asphalt. I should probably switch to the inside track of Centennial, which is grass and dirt. That would help.
Once you reach a certain level of conditioning, so you'll probably be okay. Like it won't hurt you. Like there's only upside, but like
right.
Yeah, for newer runners, definitely sort of alternating those surfaces and spreading your run. If we are talking about volume and you're just like hell bent on running a lot, just spreading that volume out over 7 days rather than trying to get it all in 3 or 4 days.
Yeah. And I mean, if you're saying that it's inflammation, icing can always help, right?
For sure. But I'm a big fan of trying to treat the cause, not the symptom.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. So yeah, obviously like things like Nurofen, icing, Normatec boots. If you do have Normatec boots or have access to Normatec boots, little trick, lay with your legs up against a wall so your feet are like facing towards the ceiling and just let it all drain out of your legs.
Cool. Yeah. That's epic.
It'll speed up the process. Yeah.
Speed up. Yeah. Look, I agree with you in that, trying to find what's causing the pain. A lot of the time, people who message me are like, hey, I've got shin splints. It's never, I want to avoid shin splints. It's like, I've got shin splints. How do I fix it now? And I'm like,
unfortunately, once you got them, it's a bit of a rough ride. You just sort of got to do your best. But treating causation is better than treating a problem you've already got.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, even with my hips and stuff, I think it's definitely to do with my running form, which is what we spoke about during the week. So, we'll work on that. All right, next one. Mad asks, what has been your favourite race to train for?
It's always the next one.
Oh my God. Come on. You got to give us a better answer than that. Is there one that's really stuck out? Do you think it's this one maybe? Or because you've been so good and you feel like you've kind of been leveled out a little bit?
Nah, I think honestly it's the races where I'd have no expectations. So like, I love trail running. Like it's my, if triathlon disappeared tomorrow, I would just trail run all day, every day. So just going trail running is like the best. I think I did like a 26 kilometer trail run in October or November last year. And it was just great fun. So like it wasn't a particularly long race. I just got to go out on the trails, 3-4 times a week, and I didn't have to swim or ride my bike or anything. And so it looked like fun. That was fun. Yeah.
What was that trail run you did that was trail, but it was through the night? That was crazy.
Oh yeah, we did a 24-hour team ultra.
Well, that was not for me.
That was great fun.
This is where we're so different. Is that
so
I was
different.
like,
yeah. No, after I, depending on how the next couple of Ironman go, I really want to go all in on a last man standing.
Gosh.
Because I think I could break some people.
I think mentally you definitely could.
Yeah. But just back to answering the question, the problem with me is because I'm such a nerd and I like reading about training philosophies and different things like that. I'm always coming up with new ways to train. So I think my next, and I outsource my coaching, which I've told you guys about because of the way my brain works. But I think my next Ironman, or maybe the one after, I haven't decided yet, I want to fully self-coach it and put all of these different theories that I've put together all together and see what works. So I am actually really excited for my first self-coached Ironman.
Okay. Well,
so that's a little two-prong answer.
That's all right. You can have as many prongs as you want on the answer. This is for you. Okay, cool. So Rachel asked, I'm a newbie runner of 1 year with my first race in April. Should I invest in carbon shoes or stick to my current ones? For context, my pace is 4 minutes 50 per kilometre.
Okay, so a couple of things. One, how long is your race?
I was thinking Rachel, that too.
Rachel, if you're listening to this and you want to message us on Instagram, or you can message me directly, I'm happy to give some more context to this. And anyone else we answer. if I don't give you the answer you're looking for, message us either on Beyond the Finish Line, and I'll break it down some more. So it depends how long your race is. Anything under a half marathon, I'm not overly concerned about. The 2 to 3% you get becomes negligible. What was the other part of the question?
That she's a newbie runner of 1 year.
Yep.
Should she invest in carbon shoes or stick to her current shoes? Her pace is 4 minutes 50.
Yeah, so pace is irrelevant. I'd be interested to see what your heart rate is at 450. If that's your threshold, then it's, again, negligible. Like, I wouldn't really worry about it. If you're sitting at like zone 2 and your pace is 450, then yeah, we could probably talk about getting some carbon plated shoes if you're doing half marathon, full marathon, or somewhere in between.
Yeah. Do you think, though, maybe she's saying her pace is 450 because she knows that carbon plated shoes don't have a big effect after? For, you know how you're saying 530 pace? If you're only, not slower, it's not a good word, but if your pace is slower than that, then there's no point. Maybe that's why she's asking.
Yeah, and a lot of things come into consideration of that too. Is like weight, right? So like the heavier you are, the way carbon works as a kinetic force, right? So it absorbs the energy you put through your legs into the carbon plate, goes into the ground, bounces back up into the plate, which propels you forward. That's how carbon plates work.
Yeah.
So if you weigh 30 kilos, you need to run really, really friggin' quick to get the same kinetic force that I need at 82 kilos. So it's a little bit of the pace does. No one really gets a benefit before 5:30. That's kind of universally been proven through all the different tests from all the different shoe manufacturers. After that, it becomes super individualized. So yeah, it's a bit of a nuanced answer, unfortunately.
I was going to say, I was waiting for the moment Matt said nuanced. I feel like you should take a shot every time Matt says nuanced.
Oh, that'd be a sick drinking game. I'd get some people fucked up.
In our last episode, you could definitely take a few shots. But look, I think this listener, as you said, her race in a carbon plated shoes, there's lots of different variables that go into play. How long is her race? You know, what's her weight? Because her weight and my weight could be totally different. So what might really help me might not help her. So definitely some things for her to think about. But then, and heart rate. Heart rate was the other one. Of course, sorry. Yep. And I think Matt and I spoke about this after Gold Coast Marathon, because that's when I had found, you had told me, Matt, about the 5 minute 30 thing. But you also had said to me, look, if carbon plated shoes are going to help you mentally, sure. Because at that time I was like, I don't know if I want to run without them because I feel like they really help me. And Matt was like, look, depends on your pace, but they might not actually be helping you. But if they're going to make you feel better and make you feel stronger and more confident, then sure. So, I mean, there's also absolutely. That.
Yeah, like my first marathon, which was at the end of an Ironman, I had no business wearing carbon plated shoes. I had the Nike Alpha Fly ones, the goats, and when I put them on, I felt like Superman. Yeah. And I think a big part of it was just I looked good, felt good, ran good. You know, that whole methodology. So there is something to be said. Like if they just give you that mental edge, like okay, I've got the thing to do the thing. Cool. Yeah. Yeah. No, I can understand that for sure. They do. They make me feel that way too. And even if I'm, there's been times where I've done a 10K race and they've really helped me because I feel like, I'm like, yeah, I've got this. I've got my fast shoes on. It's like, got my Lightning McQueens. Don't get me wrong. You can wear carbons for a 5K if you want. Because you get such a small boost, it's like 1 to 3%. The gaps become like, 1 to 3% of a 25-minute race is so much smaller than a 4-hour race. Yeah, of course. You can use them for any race if you want to, but of course, definitely. The 1 to 3%, or for me, I'm like, that extra 1%, I'll take it. Take it, yeah. Take it. Okay, cool. So Carmen asked, how will I know when I'm ready to run a marathon?
And this is a question I get asked a lot because
Yeah.
I was once a beginner marathon runner, and a lot of people come to me and say, how do I know? How do you know when you wanted to run one? So I have my own personal answer, but this is for you, Matt. So
No, I want to hear your answer first, and then I'll go.
okay, we'll see. So for me, I had done a half marathon, and so the half marathon really was amazing and I really enjoyed it. I loved it. And then I kind of just wanted a new challenge. At the time, I wanted to raise money. I wanted to push myself. So I thought, well, I'm going to raise a lot of money if I say I'm going to run a marathon. And so I did. And that's my answer. I just kind of knew. I don't know. It was just a thing. It just, yeah.
I think for any, and I think you can take the word marathon out of it. You can just use challenging event, whether that's a 5K for you, triathlon, whether it's a trail run, you want to do sea kayaking, I don't care. There is an element of just pull the Band-Aid off and commit, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So if you're waiting for the perfect time, for the perfect moment to be perfectly fit to do the perfect race, it'll never come. I'm a firm believer of set yourself a goal. So if your goal is to do a marathon, then accumulate some level of information, whether that is asking us on a podcast, hey, how long do you think it would take? I've never run before. Is 6 months enough, or is a year enough, or is whatever? Accumulate that level of information and go, cool. Is this an educated decision? Is it realistic for me to achieve that goal? Yes. And then go and do that. So how will you know? You really won't until you're on the start line.
Yeah. Or until you click pay on the
until you click pay, yeah. Yeah. And there's no defer. Yeah, and you're like, shit. If you're looking for a workout to hit, that was a good indicator. If you can run 25 to 28 kilometers non-stop and you're sort of 8 to 10 weeks out, you're going to be okay.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say then 25 to 28 kilometers and then you can think about it. And I was like, hold on. I think the longest I'd run before my marathon training for the first time was a half marathon.
Yeah. Well, I mean, some people do that, but I'm not a big fan of getting an athlete fit enough.
No.
And then picking the race.
No.
You're just in this perpetual cycle of I don't know if I'm fit enough. You're like, well, the numbers say you're fit enough, and it's let's just commit. When you put a deadline on something, you got to get your shit together. So. Yeah. I've got a couple of athletes at the moment who have just been putting off a marathon for a little while now, and I'm like, this is the one you're doing. It's enough time. Don't care. It's local to you. Done. End of.
I mean, this is why you coach them, right? And you push them to do better things.
Yeah, well, I mean, some people need that push too. Some people are just that. It's no fault of their own, but they're just not they're just not sure. Which is obviously where this question's come from. So there is an element of pull the Band-Aid off. Don't do anything stupid and be like, it's in a month and I've never run before. And have some level of baseline training. I'd say if you can either run the full distance of a marathon over the course of a week, or you can run sort of 25 to 28 kilometers unbroken, zone 2, you're in a pretty good spot to commit to something in a 2 to 3 month window.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's a great answer. I think, as you said, there's an element of just ripping the Band-Aid off, or in some cases, just buying the ticket to the marathon. I had a friend who really wanted to do a half Ironman, and for such a long time, she was like, oh, I'm thinking about it, but I haven't bought the ticket yet. And then just...
Come on.
Yeah.
Step into my web.
But But then at a run club, I think one of her friends knew that she was, you know, just procrastinating. And so the friend got up in front of everyone at the run club and was like, guess what? She's doing a half Ironman. And she was like, what? So her friend ripped the Band-Aid off for her.
Yep,
it was like,
perfect.
well, everyone knows about it now, so you have to do it. So
yep, 100%.
That was a great one. I loved that. So yeah, but look, as I said, for me, it was just, I needed a new challenge and I thought this is a great way. And it's a good goal to be like, I've run a marathon, you know? I feel like that's a bucket list thing.
For sure.
Yeah. But that actually goes on into our next question. So it just says here, so we had one that said, how do you know when you can run a marathon? And then Jasmine has asked, how many kilometers should I build up to before a marathon? Which I know you've kind of semi-answered, but I just thought we'd do that one.
Yeah, so it's kind of a play on. Again, it's nuanced. It depends on what your goal is. If your goal is just to finish a marathon, and I say just, like it's not a big deal, but like that's the baseline goal is to finish, and you want to run the whole thing and not walk, I would want your peak long run to be somewhere between 32 and 38 kilometers. Obviously, the closer you get to 40, the better. Working backwards from that, I'd say peak run kilometers somewhere in the 50s. I wouldn't be overly concerned about whether it's 50 or 59.
This is per week.
Yep, per week. Yep.
Per week, yeah.
So if you take a 35 kilometer long run out of, let's just say 55 kilometers, you've then got 20 kilometers to split over 2 or 3 runs. And then I would just progress that back a little bit each week. So you can use the 10% rule. You can just take 2 to 4 kilometers off your long run each week. That's a general thing I do for some of like my beginner athletes. So they'll go from 20 to 22 to 24 to 26 to 28. That's just a very, very simple progression.
Is that just quickly for everyone who's listening?
Yeah.
Do you want to is that the 10% rule that you were just saying?
With a grain of salt, yeah. So the 10% rule doesn't actually work because like the math doesn't work.
Yeah.
But it's just a very simple way of like a very simple progression. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now, you and I off mic talked about, someone had asked me how do they know how much they can run per week? And you mentioned whatever your longest run is, that kind of should be what you run per week. Does that play into the whole marathon thing? Yeah. So
yeah,
say,
it's a good starting point.
Say your longest run you've ever done is 15 kilometers. That'd be a good place to start. Over a week is doing 15 Ks total.
Yep. Yeah. I'm a pretty big fan of that just for the first month to 6 weeks of running. So if you come to me and you're like, the longest run I've done is a 10K, I'm like, cool, let's do 2 5Ks this week and see where you're at. And then, or you can spread it however you could do 3 3Ks, whatever, doesn't really matter. But yeah, I like to use that as a really basic suss out where you're at. And then you can just sort of add onto that a little bit each week. So if you have if it's 15 kilometers, go, cool, I've run 15 kilometers every week for 2, 3, 4 weeks. And then I'm going to go to 17, go to 20, go to 21, go to 24. And you can just sort of add on a little bit each week. Okay,
cool. I hope, Jasmine, we've answered your question there with how many kilometers should we build up to before a marathon for the week? You were saying,
the second part of it is if it's a performance goal, like Georgia, for example, she wants to run sub 4, like there's no change out of 70 kilometers a week. Yeah, like when we're really in the belly of the beast, when you're in the washing machine, like I am now, like when George is in that for marathon training, it's a standard week for you now is what, Georgia? 50?
40 to 50.
Yeah, 40. Yeah, somewhere in that
now
pocket.
That I'm actually training for London Marathon. Yeah, I think my first week back, which was last week, we did about 40 something, and I know it'll only increase from there. But I know last year for my marathon training, my biggest week was around 80 something kilometers, but they sat around the 60 or 70 most weeks for 5 or 6 weeks. And then, there's a couple of deloads in there.
Yeah. So if you're, if you're aiming for a time, and that time is, I'd say anything under, it's kind of hard for time, but anything under like 4:30 where you're really starting to like pick up the pace, 60, 70, 80 kilometers is going to be where you live your life.
Yeah, and it is so dependent on the person and their goal and
100%.
how long they've been running for and stuff like that.
Again, it's nuanced.
Yeah. And look, guys, as Matt said, if you have any other questions or we haven't kind of answered your question fully, what you needed, just give us a little bit more context and Matt will be able to help you out.
I hope you like voice notes.
I used to call them mini podcasts, which is where we kind of got this idea from.
Yeah, it is. It's exactly where the idea came from.
Yeah, Matt used to send me during in the depths of marathon training. Matt would send me voice notes being like, "Okay, this is the week. This is what happened. You know, how do you feel?" And I'm like, "Yes, a podcast." And here we are. Now I actually listen to our podcast.
And I don't.
And Matt doesn't. And I like listening to them. I get like, how can I improve? As I found out, my audio was a bit weird. So I'm so sorry, guys. I fixed that hopefully this week. Got all the gear. Like, who am I?
You're a podcaster, mate.
I'm a podcaster.
Georgia hosts a podcast.
Georgia's podcast featuring Matt. Oh, poor Matt. All right. Marianne asked, so we're still in the marathon train here. Marianne has asked, during a marathon, if you quote unquote hit the wall, what is the quickest way to bounce back?
Okay, so there are two theoretical walls in marathon training, or marathon racing, excuse me.
Yes, there is. It exists,
you don't
guys.
You don't actually hit a wall.
There's no brick wall.
Obstacle. Yeah, there's not an obstacle you need to climb. I'm pretty adamant, and I tell all of my athletes, whether they're triathletes or marathon runners, it's 28 to 32 kilometers. Somewhere 100%. In that pocket, that's where you're going to hit it, whether you like it or not. You just don't know when it's going to come.
That's where you hit. That's where the pain cave is, and you'll probably hear that a lot when you train. It's the pain cave.
It's the pain cave, yeah. So let's start with the easy one, which is the training. If you're hitting the wall in that 28 to 32 kilometer window, you need to spend more time running 28 to say 35 kilometers because you're just not used to it. Like I sort of said in that earlier question, progression, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36. There's 28, 30, 32. There's 5 weeks that all of my runners are spending either in that brick wall period or above it. Sometimes I will even earlier in the block before we do a bit of a deload, I'll get them running 28, 30 kilometers just so they can start to feel it. So I would say if you're feeling it from a physical perspective, you just haven't spent enough time in and around that pocket. I would spend more time running 30 kilometers.
At such
and just
a long distance. Yeah, for sure.
Another little good hack with that is putting in some efforts at the back end of a run. So if you're getting, George is just to have a PTSD episode.
I'm going to pass out at the thought of this because, do you know what, guys? I know this is coming, and this is the worst thing. Is it's coming sooner than I thought it was going to come, but I know these long runs are going to hit me like a ton of bricks.
Yep.
Yep, Matt's like, haha, sucked in.
Hey, I'm going through it too.
He is.
So let's just say you run 20 to 24 kilometers, pretty chill, zone 2, and then you might do like 4x1K with our 500 meter easy in between at the back end. So you've done 24 easy, 25, 26, 27, 28. That's a 30 kilometer run with the rest. And you've got to put the effort in at the back of the run. You're not front loading it. So pushing
running
hard.
on tired legs.
Yeah, running on tired legs, pushing hard through that pocket is a really great way to like sort of speed up the conditioning process. Forcing your body to push through it is, I think it's really, really important. Sometimes with my guys as well, like for example, I give Georgia this workout every marathon prep. It's 3x10K at marathon pace, and the last 5K of the third 10K block, I actually drop the pace a little bit more, only like 5 seconds more a kilometer, but they've got to switch on and they've got to go. So that 27 to 32, it's a 36 kilometer workout, that sort of little window there, they're actually got to push even harder than what they normally would. So again, it's just learning to live in that pain cave and be able to deal with it. So
last time I did that run, it was the 36 kilometer 3x10k. I did that in Centennial Parklands like an absolute psycho. That was just laps and laps and laps.
Yeah, I do all of my long runs like that, just on a up and back. Yeah.
I didn't want traffic lights. I didn't want distractions. I just wanted to run, and I'm so comfortable in
the zone.
Centennial. Yep, in the zone, in the pain cave, and actually think it really, really helped me for Sydney, because I didn't actually hit that wall in Sydney, which is the first for me. Whereas Gold Coast, I hit the wall at 33, and it hit me hard. That was a heart rate thing, and that was a bit of a nutrition thing because I'd skipped a few gels. So that's another thing that can cause you to hit the pain cave if your nutrition is absolutely rubbish.
Yeah.
Matt, you'll agree with me on that.
Yeah, so they were the second, I said 2, but there is 3. So the second is if you have not executed your session previously. Sorry, if you have not executed the first part of your run correctly. So if you've gone out like Georgia did at Gold Coast, go out too hot, you've got to pay the bill, right? Like you cannot fight it off for the whole thing, and it will just come and hit you. So if you're running too fast at the start,
it'll slap you across the face.
That wall, you hit that wall. Unfortunately, you've just got to walk or run very, very slowly until your heart rate comes down and you're able to clear lactate. So if you go back to our training zone episode, and we spoke very briefly about lactate. Lactate is the limiting factor when you cross your threshold. So want to be able to clear lactate. The third one is nutrition. So generally speaking, we have about 90 minutes of fuel in the body. That's about how much glycogen you can hold. If you carb load, which I know we have a question about carb loading, you can get a little bit more, out to 2 hours, maybe slightly over. The research is a little bit hit and miss on that. But let's just say 2 hours. That's going to get most of our runners around a half marathon. Then it's kind of just... if you don't nail your gels, if you don't nail your hydration, chances are 28 kilometers, 30 kilometers, you're going to hit that wall where you are just on absolute empty, and everyone knows what it feels like to bonk. So
that happened. That happened to Nick at 28. Yeah. He knew he hadn't hit his hydration and gels properly, and at 28 Ks, it's like the body just knew 28 Ks, boom, hit him like a ton of bricks, and just horrible.
It's just math. Like you've only got so much fuel in you, but it's just a petrol gauge on a car. You know, you can only go so many kilometers. So if you hit empty based on nutrition, unfortunately, you're in for a rough last 10 to 14 kilometers. It's very, very difficult to, based on aid stations, to not only replenish what you've lost, but then get ahead, because you're still moving, right? You're not just stopping and having a meal. So as you're trying to push yourself to go to the next aid station, you're going further and further and further down, and you're only taking in these very small doses of carbohydrates through gels or lollies or whatever they have on course. And it just gets rough. So I would actually recommend, if you bonk and like you're on absolute empty in terms of glycogen, stop at an aid station and smash like 6 gels, or like just as much as you can stomach, and then very, very slowly for 10, 15 minutes, let that digest, and then pick up the pace. That is your best chance. But even then, that's a bit Hail Mary.
Yeah, it is. It really is, because that's what happened at, I know I keep banging on about this, but it's my new experience. At Gold Coast, when I had hit the wall at 33, I managed to get to an aid station, and I remember I just put 2 hands on the table and put my head between my arms, and the lady was like, "Oh, darling, are you okay?" Bless her cotton socks. She was so sweet. She's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, I thought I was going to pass out. So I actually just grabbed, I knew you would kill me at this, but I just grabbed 4 cups of water, because it was not an aid station that had electrolytes, and I sculled as much water as I possibly could, to the point where I was like, I'm going to spew this up. And then there was a man on the side of the course who had a bottle of Coke, full strength Coke. And
The Black Doctor.
Oh, the good stuff. The poor guy, I was like, please give me some. And he was like, oh, okay. Like, I don't think, whatever. So I sculled some of that. And then some child had a red snake. So I ate that. And then I powered through it, got myself home.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how I caught back up to Nick. Sculled the water.
That is just on what George said about Coke. Like, that is, if you can find an aid station with Coke in the last 10 kilometers,
I'm telling you now, there's no marathon that has Coke at an aid station. That's a trail running thing.
It's an Ironman thing.
It's definitely not at any marathons I've ever heard.
Well, any event, if you can get your hands on a Coke in the last 10 Ks, I don't care what's wrong with you. Right is right. You could have lost a leg. You'll be right. A word of advice though. The George is done.
Sorry, you could have lost a leg.
Lost a leg, cold Coke. You'll be right, mate. You'll finish in a PB, guaranteed.
I'm losing my mind right now. Cold Coke.
Yeah, you'll be right.
It's good stuff. It is full of sugar, which is what you need. Yeah.
Yeah, but once you have Coke, you cannot go back to electrolytes. So a lot of events where they do have Coke, they'll have it at the first aid stations, like they'll have it the whole race. Once you have Coke, you cannot switch back. Like, that's just a good, you'll just throw up immediately. The salt doesn't blend with it. Like, you know what, if you put like a Mentos in a Coke.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the same thing happens if you've got a lot of sodium in your system from electrolytes.
Right. Yeah. There you go.
It's not as violent. It's not as violent as Mentos, but it happens. So
at the end, yeah,
save it to the very it's called the Black Doctor because it saves you on death's door sort of thing. So save it to the very end. Yeah,
I always crave a Coke at the end of a big race like that. I go and get, and we joke and call it in our household full strength, like the hard stuff.
Yeah, so do we.
Yeah, because we only ever have Coke Zero, or no sugar. But yeah, the full strength Coke, so good.
So good.
Even after like a really long training run, like a 32-kilometer, we will go straight to the 100%. Nearest place with a bowl of Coke. So good. So, as you were saying before, there was a question on carb loading. So Angie asked, how do you carb load for a marathon and what do you eat pre-run?
Okay, so let's just do pre-run first. Carbs is the answer. Carbs are your friend. They will not make you fat. They will not. They are not the enemy. Carbs are what we want. So, I always recommend and something I've realized since coaching is a lot of females have issues eating before running. They don't necessarily like to eat, and I'm not sure if this is just a newer thing or if it's a more universal. Maybe we've got a really concentrated group that just happen to have this outlook on it. But if you are someone who struggles to eat first thing in the morning, orange juice or pineapple juice are really, really great forms of carbohydrates.
They are. They're epic. Yeah, I only learnt that last training block is that, cloudy apple juice, amazing.
Or if you go to Woolies or Coles, whatever, I think it's Golden Circle. They make double concentrate pineapple juice.
The hard stuff.
Yeah, so I mean it's super sweet, but when I carb load, that's what I just drink that shit by the liter because it's got so many carbs. I always try and get my guys as a very, very basic rule of thumb, guys and girls. 1 gram of carb per kilo of body weight is like a.
This is for carb loading, right?
No, this is just for a pre-run.
Oh, pre-run. Okay, yep.
Yeah. Just as a very, very basic, hey, you need to start fueling for a run. Let's aim for 1 gram. So that could be 1 gram per kilo of body weight. So that could be a glass of orange juice, 1 piece of toast, and some honey. It could be crumpets and jam. It could be a bagel with a banana. It could be probably half a bagel with half a banana. That's just a very, very basic rule. Yeah.
Yeah, my favorite is bagel. Abe's bagels are the best ones. Just try them all; they are the best. I do bagel, peanut butter. You taught me about the banana, and then you also taught me about the honey on top. Great way.
Yep.
And then just glass of orange juice, worst case, or apple juice.
Yeah. So I always look for especially for people who struggle to eat before a run, you want to be consuming as much carbohydrate for as little stomach volume. So things like juice, honey, jam. Like if you have a couple of, it might be gross for some people, but if you have like 2 or 3 spoonfuls of honey, that's like 40, 50 grams of carbs, like right there. So
it's
you've
so good.
literally, you've consumed nothing in terms of stomach volume, like 3 tablespoons of basically a liquid. It's a gel, but basically a liquid. And you've got 50 grams of carbohydrates. And because it's not a solid, it breaks down super, super quickly, so it gets into your blood, so you can actually use it very quickly.
Yeah. A lot of people have maple syrup. You'll see there's a few brands out there that basically just do maple syrup sachets.
Exact same principle.
Yeah. I know people that go to Macca's and just buy a bunch of those maple syrup sachets for the pancakes. And they just smash some of those. I actually do the honey one. That's a good one. And if I'm feeling a little bit unwell, I do the Manuka. Get that in. But yeah, I think that's a really good one post-run. It is hard to get used to, but I think Matt always taught me if I've got a race coming up, I should be practicing my pre-run breakfast like months in advance. You got to be having that every pre-run. You don't want to be doing that on race day.
Yeah, so that's again, that's like, let's just add a bit of context to that. There's pre-run nutrition. So if you're just going for your normal Monday easy run, 1 gram of carbs per kilo of body weight, really great place to start. Everything we just said. If you're doing a pre-race nutrition, so let's say Georgia for London, or someone who's doing Hoka Half, for example, which is in a few weeks. I've already got my guys every Sunday morning. They wake up before their long run. They don't have to wake up at the same time that they race, but I encourage it if it fits their schedule. They have the breakfast that they're going to have. So if they are a bagel, banana, and orange juice person, they have that every Sunday, 2 hours before their run, or however long it's going to take them to get from their accommodation to the start line. They have a gel 30 minutes before, a caffeinated gel, and then they go in. So everything on race day is routine. We've practiced. Like nothing new on race day, ever. I don't get no food, no drink, no gel, no shoes, no socks. You've done everything in it 100 times, and it is just routine. You've got enough external stress going on. Central nervous system is firing. Got enough things to fucking worry about. You do not need to worry about whether my shoes are going to give me a blister or did I get the right brand of bagels. Like we've practiced it.
Yeah. Only the same stuff. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I agree. I can fully agree with that. As I said, we only ever use the same brand, same kind of honey, get a banana. It's the same. You don't want to be introducing anything new.
100%. Sure. There's too much external stress. Carb loading. So very, very simple. 2 to 3 days, depending on how much you can tolerate. I do 3 days. And generally speaking, girls can get away with a little bit less. They can get away with 7 grams of carbs per kilo of body weight per day. Guys can go up 8 to 10. Girls can go up to 10 as well if they can tolerate it. Just more often than not, they sort of struggle. So, and I don't really know why, to be honest. I've never done enough research into why
I freaking love carb loading. I love it.
Okay, yeah, but it's a lot of carbohydrates.
Yeah, this is where you have the apple juice.
Yeah.
The apple juice. And, it's so good, guys. Gatorades. Yeah. I love it.
Yep. And the trick with carb loading, so 3 days, if you can, 2 days at a minimum before your race. So if you're racing Sunday, it's Friday, Saturday, or Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Consuming somewhere between ideally 8 to 10 grams of carbs per kilo of body weight each day. So for me, for example, 80 kilo male, 10 grams of carbohydrates. That's 800 grams of carbs per day.
It's a lot.
Yeah. You also want to reduce your fiber. So no vegetables, no fruits outside of bananas, or very, very minimal. You can have a small amount. You want to reduce your fats as much as possible, and you want to keep your protein about the same. Obviously, we're still trying to keep everything from breaking down, so muscle protein synthesis is important. But it's a lot. So, and again, we spoke about just before stomach volume. the more carbohydrates you can get in condensed forms, the better. So I drink that double concentrate pineapple juice.
Yeah.
It is a brutal drink to just swig straight from the bottle, but it gets the job done. I'm a big fan of microwave rice with sweet chili sauce, and you just mix that up because that is just a bomb of carbohydrates. Georgia,
Athletes have the weirdest stuff they do.
Yeah.
I love
honey.
Yeah,
go for it.
No. I was gonna say, yeah, I just love the honey and banana pretty much.
Yeah.
It's my favorite.
So I'll get a banana and I'll have the honey and I'll literally just like douse the one bite in honey, and then I'll take a bite and then I'll douse the next bite.
I really wish you guys could see the movements that Matt was doing right now.
Yeah.
Now, do you want to really quickly explain, Matt, why we need to reduce our fibre?
So you don't shit yourself.
I was like, I wonder if you could say it on camera. Yeah, guys, seriously, don't.
I thought it was self-explanatory, but
No, you just never know. I'm here. I'm asking the questions for the people.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, look, guys, you don't want to be out on course and then like, oh man, I need to use the bathroom. So, no fibre.
And yeah, also the morning of your race, you're going to have probably enough caffeine to start vibrating, and caffeine's a natural laxative, so
yeah,
you're playing a losing game there.
Yes, just in your morning bag, take some spare tissue. Your race day bag.
Yeah. So to very quickly summarize carb loading, 2 to 3 days. Females 7 to 10 grams you can get away with. Men 8 to 10. If you can push to 12, you can, but I wouldn't recommend that on your first time. And then as little stomach volume as possible. So fluids that are super, super high in carbohydrates, sauces, white rices, anything that is just not filling, because you've got to eat a shitload, and reduce your fiber, reduce your fat, keep protein as close to normal as possible.
Amazing. That's so helpful. So many people ask that kind of question, and I think a lot of people are lost or they don't even know they have to do it. So I think that is a really good one.
I think that's just if you have to do it, a half marathon, you can get away not doing it, right? So I'd say anything over that sort of 2.5 hour time frame, you'll be right, not carb loading. You just have a couple of gels while you're running.
Yeah, I think even towards the end of your marathon block, when you're heading up towards that 28, 30, 32, you can do mini carb loads, right?
Yep.
You want to make sure
again, we practice all
again.
of that. Yeah.
Yeah, really good one. It means you can eat pasta all the time. So good. I miss it because I miss. This is why I keep signing up for marathons. It's purely for the carb loading.
For the pasta.
All the food. People are like, "Oh, do you lose weight when you run these marathons?" I'm like, "Nah, man, I put on weight."
Yeah, that's definitely something I track with my guys and girls. Is like, if your weight stays consistent or you gain weight during prep, we're doing good. That means you're fueling properly. If I start seeing kilos flying off you, I'm like, we're a couple of days away from a stress fracture. Yeah,
exactly. And I think this might be a thing for another episode, but I do think women do fall into that trap of feeling like they 100%. Need to lose weight. So
yeah, we'll do a nutrition episode.
Yeah, good idea. I'm going to end on a fun one. Taylor, who is one of Matt's athletes, has asked, how do you manage difficult athletes?
Just don't reply to their WhatsApps, Taylor. To be honest, there are no difficult athletes.
No. You get a good bunch.
Not even just with me. I just think in general, if you have a coach and they... not that they should ever label an athlete difficult, like that's awful, but it is not the coach's job to mold the athlete to them. It is the coach's job to mold to the athlete. Wow. Especially like coaching is so much about personality blend and the mental aspect. The workout is writing the workouts is a very, very little part of my job. The majority of my job is someone messaging me going, I couldn't do the session. I'm a failure. It was awful. I can't do it. Georgia messaged me crying in marathon prep.
There's a lot of that, guys.
Yeah.
I laugh
that
because
is,
there's a lot.
Yeah. Like that is the majority of coaching. So If anyone thinks that they are difficult, the coach has not done a good job in adjusting to them. And there are personality blends that just don't get on, and that's fair enough.
Yeah.
But I think for the most part, it is the coach's job to adapt to the athlete rather than the athlete adapt to the coach.
Yeah, I love that. And I know Taylor was joking, but it is a very important thing to say.
Because, it is important. Yeah. Some people are hesitant to get coaching because they think they are particular or they have needs that cannot be met or whatever it is. And it's just not the you just need to... It's almost like dating. You do need to find the right person.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I mean, look at me. And if you think you're quote unquote difficult, I mean, God, the amount of times in marathon prep that I'm like, Matt, I can't do this. This is too hard, or I'm not cut out for this, or I need to lose weight, or this or that, or whatever. And Matt's like, no, come on, you're okay. He knows what I respond well to, and Matt will know the things that will help me get through the session. So
some people, Georgia, responds to logic. She does not respond to emotion. She does not respond to motivation. If I'm like, nope, this is where we're at, this is where you need to get to, this is the process, boom, she responds.
Trust
it. Taylor, on the other hand, responds really well to hey, get your fucking shit together, let's go. Her partner in crime, Mel,
yes,
and these two are identical in every single way. Shout out Taylor and Mel. They are a package deal. But Mel really responds to loving, caring, hey, it's going to be okay, this is what I just need you to do this tomorrow. Don't worry about the workout, just go and do this. Let's build some momentum. So just in those three people, polar opposites.
Yeah.
Couldn't be more different. And they're all training for very, very similar things. So there is no such thing as a difficult client. It is the way the coach responds to said client.
Exactly. So you just need to coach with Matt. Go with Matt. Why go with anyone else?
Exactly.
Well,
just
I think
come to the best straight away.
Yeah, look, I think that is probably enough questions for now.
There was one about being able to afford coaching.
Oh, yeah. So, Erin asked, my budget doesn't allow for a proper coach at the moment. Are apps like Runner worthwhile? Okay,
so the reason I wanted to talk about it is just because Runner was mentioned, or running apps, whether that's Nike Run Club app or whatever. I think for very, very starting out, up to 10 kilometers, any of those beginner apps are actually pretty decent. All it is a very basic algorithm. As long as you're honest with the algorithm, it will keep you relatively close to out of harm's way. You're not going to break anything or overload or get a compound fracture or anything like that. After that point, I would start to steer away from them, or using them as a guide, but not necessarily following it as the gospel. So the paces are generally a bit too fast for people. The progression is normally pretty aggressive. It's very much like hey, we can get you to marathon fit in 12, 16, 20 weeks, whatever it is, regardless of where you're from. And I'm against that in many ways. I'm very much hey, let's do the work and then we'll work it out. But I would say if you can't afford a coach, there is so much information out there. And this actually, I actually messaged Georgia about this, and we could probably announce it on the podcast. I guess we might as well. I messaged you about this.
You did. I'm just laughing. It's fine.
So what we're going to do with the podcast is we did a running 101 episode, but we're going to restructure that idea, and we're going to every 4 or 6 weeks do a podcast, and we're going to be like, hey, this is your beginner's guide to just start running, and we're going to give you some workouts. We're going to give you everything for 4 weeks. In 4 weeks after that, cool, this is the next step. So running 102, and we'll give you some workouts. We'll give you exactly what to do. And it's just going to be a beginner's guide to get you to sort of that 20 kilometer a week volume. We'll address speed. We'll address easy running. We'll give you everything you need, all the workouts. There'll be free downloads for all the programs, everything. So we'll...
So exciting. You guys are going to love it. It's going to be so good.
Yeah, Georgia asked if Georgia asked, do you want to charge for it? And I was like, no, I think anything for beginners we should do for free.
Yeah, look, I just want to say not because I want to make money or anything. It's
no.
It was just
programs.
I want to make sure
it was just a business
himself.
question. It wasn't us make money. No. Sorry. No. Good context there, Georgia.
Thank you. I was like, whoa.
It was not for us to make money or for my business, the Performance Project, to make money. It was just. I think anything we do for beginners should be for free, because the more people who are running and doing triathlon, in my books, is better, and that's what we're about. So
that's what we're going to
about. It'll be 4 or 5 programs that'll be 3 to 4 weeks in duration. One will be how to get started, mastering the 5K, speed.
Yeah,
we'll come up. We haven't written the whole thing yet, but we've got a couple already in the pipeline. So
they're going to be really easy to follow. The episode, your 101, the first program will be very much similar to what you heard, and then we'll have an episode that'll be 102, and then there'll be a program that matches it. So at least you're not having to take 100 notes during the listening to us.
You'll literally be able to pull up, download the program. Training Peaks, the exact same software Georgia uses. And you'll be able to listen to the podcast, look at the session, and it'll explain everything.
How good.
Yeah.
Love that.
So for anyone who can't afford coaching, we're coming for you. Don't worry. We'll have some options.
Yeah, look, and as Matt said, just to summarize on that, the apps are really good. And I definitely, before I found Matt, I used a few of them. I've used Nike Run Club. I know lots of people using Couch to 5K, Couch to 10K. Runner's a relatively new one. It's come along since I started running. I've tried it before. It is a great app, but again, it's not as tailored as I would like. I found, I just found that it was very much just go and run this fast. I'm like, but I can't run that fast. So but it's a good place to start.
If anyone's wondering how those apps work, it is just an algorithm. So it takes Georgia is 30 years of age. It takes women who are approximately Georgia's height, weight, and age, puts it all into a big spreadsheet of all the users internationally, and goes, that's the average, send them out. That's basically how it works. Same with Garmin, that's how Garmin predicts things, VO2, stuff like that. All of these apps just work off algorithms that are based on their user database.
Yeah, so there you go. That's how that works. But I do...
In case anyone was wondering.
Yeah. That's can I tell you more? Oh,
I'm getting better at keeping it short.
No, I don't want to put you in a box. You do you. I'll just be here to rein it in every now and again.
Yeah. Matt, shut up.
Matt, shh. Just need a little code word.
Yeah.
Look, we got heaps of questions, guys, and I wish we could answer them all. But I think because this has been so fun, I think at the end of most episodes, we're going to pick, 1 or 2 questions to answer. So keep your ears out at the end of the episodes. We will have those there for you guys. And if you've got questions, feel free to hit us up on socials. You can message Matt, message myself, message the podcast, and we'll do some question boxes as well that you can put them in there directly.
Yeah, every week, a couple of questions. That'll be good fun.
Yeah, definitely.
And then maybe, I don't know, every couple of months we'll do an episode like this where we answer a whole bunch.
Yeah, definitely. And look, guys, don't feel like it always has to be questions for Matt. You can ask me questions.
Yeah, ask Georgia stuff.
Ask me stuff. You can ask me about social stuff. I'll talk to you guys about Instagram, TikTok.
Yeah.
And then you'll be like, oh my God, she doesn't shut up.
No, I think there's a lot of things that, again, this is why Georgia and I think we work so well, is because we are so opposite. So if you asked me an emotional question about running, how to get over pre-run anxiety, no good. Georgia, she can talk to you all day. I'd just be put your shoes on and go run.
Yes. I'm okay, guys, so here's what we're going to do.
Yeah, exactly. So, or I don't know, running at night as a female, something I obviously don't have to deal with. A great question for Georgia. How do you prevent that? Do you have I know we sort of briefly spoke on it in one episode, but sharing locations on your phone, stuff like that. There's heaps of things. So don't feel like they all need to be the technical questions for me.
I'm going to write that question down and pretend someone asked it.
From Georgia.
from Georgie. Oh dear. Well, I hope this episode has been great for you guys on your long runs. A lot of people are saying they're listening on their long runs, which I love. Makes me so happy. But yeah, as I said, ask the questions. Follow us on Instagram at beyondthefinishline_pod. Matt, do you have any last final words for us?
Follow us on YouTube.
Oh yeah, YouTube.
That's
I forgot about that.
YouTube, like, subscribe. If you're like me, like I listen to all my podcasts on YouTube. So
yes,
yeah,
I know. I need to start I know I've upped my game, guys. I've got headphones and like the full setup so that the YouTube looks nice. All about the socials.
Hopefully in a couple of weeks it'll look even better. But we're waiting to hear back on some stuff.
Yeah, we're getting there. Hopefully this episode has been better for your audio. And yeah, thank you so much for listening. We can't wait to get this out for you guys. And yeah, we are live every Wednesday morning for your long run, your interval run, or just your commute to work.
Perfect.
Very good. Awesome. See you later, guys.
See you guys. Bye.
Bye.